Hey guys, my name is JessiMew, and welcome back to the Ancient Legends Challenge. In the last episode, we had a wonderful start when Rihanna cracked open our very first glacier. Inside, we found a creature with the ticking trunk, which is honestly one of the most adorable genes I have ever seen in this game. I love those giant eyes. But she is unfortunately sick, so we need to make sure that she's having enough babies that we'll be able to keep the digging trunk in our genetics. Luckily, our little summer princess, Sydney, does have it tucked away inside her traits, so we should be able to pull that out again inside their line in the future. And now that we do have two separate factions forming, we have the Court of Summer over on this side of the island, and then our Winter Prince on this one. Birch is definitely meant to explore the mountainside. His two velvet paws and his white fur reminds me of those bunnies, and it's pretty fitting that the bunnies are even gazing down on his nest on some of his very first moments of life. I'll bet these bunnies are going to act as excellent guides to him in the future. Maybe they'll show him where all of those good new resources are, and maybe they'll even lead him over to our second glacier. It's going to take a good long while for our creatures to reach it, but I'm sure our Winter Prince will welcome that critter with open arms. So perhaps as Jill tends to the berries, we could have her father attempt to go after one of these bunnies. Oh my goodness, little guy, are you taking a dip in the hot springs? Luckily, it's not quite cold enough that we have to worry about our creatures freezing, though I have noticed that because Rokuro has that spiky body, he's a little bit more affected by the chilly weather. And I'm sure that Jill would notice that too, so we'll have her scoot her way over here so she can be with her mentor, as the bunnies still splash around in the hot springs, leaving us out in the cold. She might call over one of her other sisters to help her too, because if we keep three creatures next to each other, then they'll be warm enough to get rid of that debuff that lowers their energy. One of you had a great idea for our twins. Since we are hoping to kind of split our tribe into two different parts, one with the digging trunk and hopefully one with the saber teeth in the future, maybe our twins, our two very first daughters born on the entire island, would want to walk separate roads, thus perhaps beginning this rift in our tribe. Fennec Chew, I think, would be the one to come back to the winter side of the island. She actually enjoyed hopping around with all of those little bunnies, and I see you scooting around the side. Do we have some berry bushes out here that you might be looking for? Maybe they think that Rihanna isn't going to notice them as they try to attack the berry bush from the other side. But I think we'll be able to scoop them up before they steal our berries. But yeah, Fennec Chew always did prefer the mountains, so I think that's where she's going to return. We'll let her stay here for now next to our collectors, so we can make sure that Rokuro is nice and warm as he picks up all of these lovely acorns yet again. We'll have Jill do her part by collecting the berries, since she's learned from her mentor so well, and then he'll have time to knock down plenty of acorns for them to eat pretty soon. Now, Rihanna can't stray too far from her baby's side, but if we set her up right here instead, maybe she can trick some of the bunnies to hop into her path. I love how she has the full, undivided attention of her little crabbit pet too. This must be the very same one that she migrated to the island with, checking out her new little baby. I'm sure even a crabbit could tell that that baby is very, very important. We'll have Petal do her part by clearing out this area, so we know that our babies are going to be safe. And what I actually wanted to do for the digging trunk was maybe change their gems to the orange color. If a baby has the digging trunk like Ramee does, we'll change all of them. But for Sydney, since she only has it in her inactive traits, we'll just give her one of the orange gems, just so we know that she's carrying it, and we can match up our potential pairings that way. But with her sickness, Ramee is going to wither away in no time, so we better make sure that she's going to have her next baby soon. We'll want to have Tataduke sit next to their baby right now, so she doesn't end up getting Sydney sick, though that leech might actually be an issue. Well, I guess we'll still scoot you down to the shore, and if it does get too close, then we'll make sure that we move you away. Maybe it was worried because it saw that she was sick? She's carrying some strange ancient illness in her blood that even a leech doesn't want to mess with. Unfortunately, we don't have the nesting material to spare for another nest, but we can at least use this turn to pick up some extra grass in the process. Have you found another Crabbit friend? I think Rihanna is just like the Crabbit keeper or something. We sure do have a lot of Crabbits out here. So she doesn't interact too well with the bunnies like some of our other creatures do, but she definitely has a good collection of Crabbit friends. So she is living her best life out here. Now with one more patch of grass, we should be ready to skip the day and cross our fingers that no dangers are going to come skittering down from the mountainside. Thankfully, all looks well. I didn't hear anything spawn aside from the Dodomingo. Oh no, don't tell me you're looking to steal our summer nests. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Well, if we scoot little Sydney next to her father really quickly, and then jump Ramee right on top of the stump, then she'll be able to have just one more baby before she passes. That does put Sydney in a bit of an unfortunate position, because now she is directly next to Ramee, but there's not really much that we can do about that since she is so little, and we only have a limited amount of supplies to work with. So go ahead and pick your berries. It doesn't look like we have any roots for you to dig up in this area, but hopefully your next child will have a digging trunk to carry on your legacy. This challenge is definitely much more forgiving than it used to be, now that we can actually place those genes into our mutation menu. So I mean, even if their baby isn't born with it, at least we're not going to risk losing it entirely. But Rokuro is feeling much better now thanks to your help, Fennec Chew. So we'll let you scoot on over here to maybe help your mother out with these bunnies. She is getting so fed up with all of these bunnies hopping around her nest, and I'm sure they're just swarming here because they can sense the potential in Birch. She has no idea though, so she just sees them as a nuisance, whereas Fennec Chew would be more willing to see them as the guides that they are, because she had her own experience with bunnies up in the mountains. And they're still up there too, hopping away around their burrows. I suppose Nukir should be safe to wander a little bit further away from the rest of his family. Oh, he actually managed to pin that one down for us. Excellent. So your father is a pretty good bunny hunter too. Why don't we have him start scaling the mountain as he toddles his way out of the nest? I feel like he would be most drawn in this direction anyway. Our little ghosts of winter. Oh, they both have all of those velvet paws too, so they can literally be the ghosts just haunting this mountainside, hopefully drawing little attention to their tribe as they go. Now again, there's really not much that we can do for Ramee and her sickness. I think we'll want to keep Tataduke right by her side, not only because she is passing away on this turn, but to make sure that their next baby is going to be safe too. We do have Petal watching over them, but just in case a bluebird does spawn, we'll need to make sure that somebody is in the area to keep the new little baby safe. But otherwise, I think we are out of turns now. So let's see what Ramee's last little baby is going to look like. Oh my gosh, the digging trunk, and that is so sad that she passed away right next to him. But she was able to see her last baby before she left. This is another child clearly meant for a role in our summer court, with that lovely golden fur, that lovely banana fur even, which seems even more fitting now that he has a digging trunk. So our first full digging trunk baby will be named Ace. Welcome to our tribe, little one, and hopefully you'll be able to sniff out many roots in our future. I did notice that he has some pretty poor eyesight, so we might need somebody to stand by him, just to make sure that he won't get picked off by any predators. but it seems as if our summer court's control over the mountain might slowly be fading. Perhaps it is in part due to Reme's passing, or the fact that our winter prince is getting older as well. Now that he's ready to go charging off into the mountains too, the skies are getting darker and the air is getting colder. And creatures like our poor Rukuro are not going to enjoy this one bit. You know, I think it might be time for him to consider starting a family with Jill. A little collecting line that would be perfect for settling down by these trees and keeping all of our babies well fed. It's pretty clear that the spiky body is just not going to work on the mountains though. It gets rid of their tail genetic, and we really need that for the cold resistance. So we might want to consider placing something different in his mutation menu. We'll definitely want to work on those eyes too. So the normal eyes first, because that's very important for our survival, but then the medium body, so we won't see the lean body popping up either. I kind of feel like for Jill's mutation menu, maybe we should try to weasel those stripes onto our babies. That way they would be able to hide pretty well in the tall grass. And if we're going to focus on collecting for their babies, they're probably not going to be the strongest. So we want to make sure that they have a way to escape potential predators. I'm not really sure what we should do for the second slot though, since we don't have the claw open or the ram horns even. So for now, we'll just leave that blank in case we have something better to place there in the future. We'll have her use her turns to hopefully breed with him, though we still don't have quite enough material to build a nest. I suppose we could always have her use her mother's old nest, the same one where she was born. And I mean, she definitely needs the help over here. Unfortunately, Rihanna, the bunnies did get to your berries. So Jill can start making her way over to the nest, and we'll have them use it on their next turn. Sydney, on the other hand, must be very confused as to why her power seems to be fading. This is something that she's going to want to investigate herself, though she doesn't quite have the strength to leave the nursery all on her own. Especially with her father just about to pass away, she needs to ensure that her new little brother is going to be kept safe, because he has such an important gene, of course. And because they'll need a third member of their party to keep them all warm once it does start to snow. So let's keep her over here for now, as Petal perhaps searches the grasses, looking for more little berries to scoop up. We'll have Tataduke do the same, clearing out the grass as he goes, though it looks as if they may have consumed every last berry in their gardens. So perhaps it could be the Summer Court's mission to explore all of the little patches of grassland that we have all around the mountainside. I suppose there is always the chance that one of these glaciers could be hidden away in the tall grass, so whoever finds it gets to keep it for themselves. I like the idea that our little digging trunked babies are going to be sniffing out the treasures of the grasslands, while our ghosts up in the north are going to try to ward off danger. It will be tricky because they aren't the strongest of creatures, so we might want to consider breeding some claws into their line. That would definitely help with the bunny hunting too, so it wouldn't be so hard for them to gather their food. But as much as her mother would disapprove, I guess Fennec Chew gets to enjoy one more day with one of our bunny guides, as we pick up some extra grass with Rihanna and get ready to skip the day once again. Yeah, it is definitely getting colder on the mountainside. You can already tell. And poor Uncle Tataduke has passed away, so it's a hardship he'll never have to experience. But his children will have to shoulder that burden instead, as they try to figure out a way to bring the summer heat back to the mountains. Oh, we do have tons of roots up this way. I'm sure both Petal and Ace can smell that easily, so we'll have to have them dig that up as soon as he's old enough. And in the meantime, we can have Nuke here gather up that bunny for us, as we settle Fennec Chew into the hot springs to warm her up, and have Birch do the same for his father. It's not easy traveling in the mountains once it gets cold, and it's even more difficult to do so once the snow starts to fall. So they might have to retreat back home if they can't find a way to progress. But has the Dodomingo actually stolen our nest? Are you serious, Rihanna? Okay, we'll try picking your berries. There we go. That was enough to startle the Dodomingo away. And interestingly enough, your Crabbit pet is still very interested in your family. We might have to leave the acorns behind. I want to make sure that Rokuro doesn't freeze, but I'm not sure if there's a way for us to settle him between the ladies. We might actually have to warm him up in the hot springs for now, and then send him back to food collecting once he's feeling better. Since he's the only creature in our tribe with the nimble fingers at the moment, unless one of his babies manages to inherit it, we want to make sure that we're keeping him super safe. And hello, little bunny. Are you perhaps looking to steal our berries? Unfortunately for you, our summertime creatures are much better at bunny hunting, so they're not going to let you get near any of their delicious food. We'll have Ace take his first steps out of the nest too, to kind of get his bearings in their current landscape. But otherwise, I think we might be just about out of turns, because we want to leave our traveling groups right next to each other. So as Jill perhaps paws at the ground to try to dig up that one last tasty root. We don't have anything up here for you guys, do we? Oh, we have plenty of roots. Well, we might as well do the same for you. Every last bit of food counts up here. Now we should be ready to skip the day again, though thankfully the snows are holding off for one extra day. So our new baby gets a pleasant introduction to the world. And thankfully, not only does she have those nimble fingers that we were looking for, but she also has the stripes. So that'll increase her camouflage skills, as long as she's hidden away in the tall grass. She could even set up right on top of this bunny burrow. That would stop the bunnies from spawning, but we know that her grandmother would very much appreciate it. Then she wouldn't have so many bunnies to go chasing after herself. So our first member of the collecting line will be named Daria. Welcome to the tribe, little one, and hopefully you will be able to keep all of our food supplies high, especially as we're going into the long winter. So let's have Sydney gather up the old nest where she was born. Oh, she's not making any Dodomingo friends. The Dodomingo wasn't too happy about that. But this gives Ace the perfect opportunity to put his digging skills to the test. We'll have Petal pick up the last of their berries over here, and then make sure that she's keeping a very close eye on their surroundings so he can dig in peace. And now with the extra nesting material, we should be able to have another baby with Rokuro, which is great because he is getting super old. So we'll scoot Jill over to the side of her baby, as the bunnies and the Dodomingos and the Crabbits watch on. Oh my goodness, you are calling all of the wildlife to your nest now. We'll go ahead and breed with Jill so she can plop down another one, and hopefully they'll all stay out of her way. I think he's probably warmed up enough that he should be able to come back here, and maybe try his hand at picking up some more acorns. Birch, on the other hand, is going to get to experience a resource that our tribe has not yet seen. These twiggy little plants are great for nests, so we can gather up all of those sticks, and it'll go straight into our nesting material. That'll be a great way to ensure that our expectant mothers can actually continue their families. They have another permanent nest out this way too, so maybe that's the direction where we want to travel next. We don't want to leave Birch all out on his own, so we'll just have our creatures try their hand at digging up those roots. But I think we're going to have to enlist the help of Ace if we really want to make use of that food. Otherwise, we should be out of turns now. So let's bring Rihanna down to the shore so she can help Rokuro when the day passes. And we can see if, hopefully, we'll have another baby who can help us collect all of those delicious acorns. Well, no acorns in your future, but thank goodness you have the digging paw. You know, we might want to consider breeding the digging paw into Ace's line in the future. That way we could pick up even more delicious roots with each patch. Oh, and that's awfully lucky. One of your crabbits must have left the shell for you. Oh my goodness. But in your absence, I think the bunnies might be making a run for it. Even now, it seems like Grandmother Rihanna just can't rest. So with that last little acorn, we'll scoot her over here. That way she could actually be next to her grandchildren too, in case we do want to attempt to breed Rokuro and Jill one last time. But let's pick out a name for this baby. She looks really pretty. I love that combination of colors, and the green eyes too. She even has the poison fangs in her inactive traits. Oh, that would be an interesting thing to breed into our collectors. I mean, I don't think we're going to find any poison berry bushes out here. I could be wrong, there could be some hidden away in these patches, but for the most part, I think the poison fangs would help them protect themselves. They might not be the strongest, but if they do have the opportunity to poison their enemies, I think most of the predators will probably stay away. Now the next name on my list is Butterbee. So welcome to our tribe, little one, and hopefully you can help us find a couple of those extra roots, if Ace doesn't steal them all up first. Now let's see if we can manage to have one last baby between Jill and our shy little porcupine. Hopefully the fertility isn't going to get in the way. There we go, so at least we know that we have one final collecting baby to keep under this tree. And the sneakiest bunny is trying to steal our berries over here. Oh, blending in almost perfectly with all of those bones. Well, Petal, you better pick up those berries fast then. She wouldn't be able to take the bunny down in one swipe anyway, so we don't want to take any chances. But now that Sydney is also fully grown, it would be a good idea for her to start making her way up into the mountains to see if she can find a way to bring the summer back to the land. And this is where she may cross paths with our winter prince. As he makes his way over toward the nest, perhaps following the whispers of the bunnies, he and his entourage would be a very striking presence. So in the next episode, not only will Birch and Sydney hopefully be crossing paths, but we might even see our twins meet up again. Do we really have crabbits climbing up the mountains too? Oh my gosh, they just won't leave us alone. I guess that was some sort of omen when we saw all of the crabbits by the shore. We have definitely infested the mountainside with crabbits, and I hope that's not going to make it more difficult for us to explore in the future. They can be a little bit of a nuisance. They do like to block our paths when they have places to be, but at least they're always willing to offer up a few shells to those who are willing to become their friends. And that's why Rihanna loves them so much. But for now, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys!